Hi there, this is Neil Bolger at A2 Efficiency, and in this Title 24 2025 update, we are going to highlight the multi-zone office and schools all electric requirement. So this applies to non-residential prescriptive systems being installed. So you could imagine any building that meets this criteria, that's either these two, must do and is doing a multi-zone system. It has to be a heat pump system. There's a lot more detail to it. Let's dive in. So this applies in a very limited way, right? So this applies to, again, these two buildings, offices and schools, and it's prescriptive. So you could always run a performance energy model and do any comparative system. Granted, you'll be compared to an all electric multi-zone system, but it's for office and schools that are less than 150,000 square feet or 5 stories. So in past code cycles, there's been efforts and changes to the standard to require heat pumps in single zone, smaller buildings. If you're doing single zone systems, they got to be a heat pump or a dual fuel heat pump. That would be buildings like this 2 story, 15,000 square foot office building. This is the Sonoma Clean Power headquarters, just as an example. But over here on the right, this is really what we're talking about, bigger buildings, right? This is a 4 story office building at the San Francisco airport, 135,000 square feet, relatively large building. Now it would prescriptively be required if it wanted to not do single zone systems, which granted, that would be a lot of zones, one of these four systems, DOAS with VRF, DOAS with fan coils and an air to water heat pump, a VAV DX system with parallel fan powered boxes and that central air to water heat pump still, or a dual fan, dual duct with an air to water heat pump. All right, so what are these systems, right? For an overview, some people may know off the top of their head what this all means and what might be required, but the code actually goes further and spells out efficiency criteria for each system. It's pretty complicated. It's on 2 pages, but so you can at least scroll between the 2 pages and follow all the criteria. But in the DOAS configurations, they require heat recovery, right? So at the unit, the ventilator has to recover heat. They have a max fan power. This is the total fan power for both your supply and your exhaust. They then said zone fan requirements. They have to be able to turn off when they're not heating or cooling. They have to have a maximum fan power of this much. They have to have 3 speeds, and they even dictate a minimum power for flow. And then this would we're showing fan coils, same for VRF though, right? Same kind of criteria for VRF on the DOAS and the cycling. On the package VAV system, possibly the most complicated of the systems from a code language requirement. So this system, diagrammatically, I'm showing just VAV reheat boxes, right? So this is just a damper and a coil. But the unit actually, I'm not even showing it. It's supposed to have heat recovery in certain climate zones by building type. So a lot of the climate zones well, actually, no, it's not. There's still a number missing, right? Basically, schools, it's just the more extreme ones. Offices, it's more the coastal, cooler climate zones. Air to water heat pump, there's an interesting requirement in schools in climate zone 2. So that's like where up in Sonoma County here, it's only 120-degree hot water. You can't do 130. And then probably the most difficult one that we'll look at in future videos is the parallel fan powered box system. So depending on your type and your climate, all or some of your zones have to use parallel fan powered boxes, and they have to have a max fan power of 0.3 watts per CFM. A pretty interesting requirement. A dual fan, dual duct, right? So this is now an optional system, has to be on that air to water heat pump. I did some searching trying to find a building that I could think of that has recently been built with dual fan, dual duct. That would be a typical building you might see. And I recalled that some engineers I used to work with from Keen Engineers had built one years ago. So I found this great building built in 2002 up in British Columbia. And this wonderful quote, it's not the kind of system you'd use in every building by any stretch of the imagination. Still, they did find that for the needs in that healthcare building, the dual fan, dual duct system served quite well. All right, so that is it for requirements. We're going to dive into the next one here for some of the highlights in Title 24, 2025.